Greetings everybody and welcome to the Bleach review for episode 10, The Battle. Phenomenal episode, fantastic animation, lots to talk about, so let's just break it down. So the episode opens on Kenpachi Zaraki fighting Unohana, a continuation of their fight from last week where she is trying to awaken Kenny back to his original power. You find out through the cadence of the episode and their internal monologues that Kenny is starting to cotton on that something's going on. Why does he keep blacking out and waking up? Why is it every time he blacks out and wakes up he feels reborn, stronger? As this Unohana realizes, she's starting to realize things. So she kills him again and again and again. He wakes up every single time stronger and faster and quicker and closer to his original power. Because as she talks about during her inner monologue during this scene, she knows that Kenny has been subconsciously suppressing his power for his entire adult life, because he loves combat so much that if he were to unleash his full power, he'd win every battle instantly. So he has subconsciously suppressed his own powers so he can enjoy fights for longer. But unfortunately, with the situation they're in now, with the Vandenreich and the Sternritter and Yuha Bak, he can no longer afford to suppress that power. He needs to wake up, and more importantly, he needs to connect with his Zanpakuto. So their fight continues for a good 5 minutes. Beautiful back and forth animation. Kenny every now and then manages to cut Unohana on her face or on her shoulder, but because she's the head of the medical corps, she just heals herself and carries on. Eventually, Unohana unleashes her Bonkai Minazuki. We've been waiting years to see this Bonkai. Everyone has, and it did not disappoint. The whole of her blade and sword and hilt, everything turns to blood. That turns to blood. The whole world turns to blood. Around her, she can create defensive cages of this. It moves at the slightest whim like a whip, even though it's still a sword. It's phenomenally well animated. And she comes at Kenny hell for leather, and he gets taken down and taken down and taken down, but then slowly he starts to wake up. He starts to move quicker, he starts to be more powerful, he starts to get through her defense, and eventually he kills her. He gets terribly upset by this, because she's the only one who's ever given him the fight that he was searching for. The fight where he can just keep going and going and going, because he hasn't realized that he died about 30 times already during this fight and been brought back. But when Unohana passes away and Kenny is holding her, he cries out in pain. It's quite a beautiful scene, because that joy that he felt with this fight he will never feel again, and that's quite poignant for a character like Kenpachi. I myself have always enjoyed Kenpachi Zaraki as a character. I always considered him the Vegeta to Ichigo's Goku. Thoroughly enjoyed this fight, thoroughly thought the animation was yet again top-notch. Can't be faulted. The studio that they have doing this show is unbelievable. They're up there with Studio Madhouse, Studio IG for me. After we cut from Kenny killing Unohana, we get a shot earlier on as well, from 700 years ago in the past, when she first met Kenpachi, amidst a pile of bodies that everyone thought Unohana had caused, but actually the child Kenpachi Zaraki had caused. And we finally see the fight where he gave Unohana the scar on her chest before she defeats him and gives him the name Kenpachi. But she couldn't give it him officially because he was too young, and he didn't best her. But she saw when he was younger that he would one day be the one to defeat her, and therefore would finally take over the role of the Kenpachi. There can only be one Kenpachi, one blade of death, and now it is Kenpachi Zaraki finally. Kenpachi is stood there in pain, mulling over the fact that he's just lost his greatest opponent, and he hears a voice. He hears a voice saying, "Finally, you can hear me. Finally, I've been watching you for all this time. I know who you are. I've seen you. I've been keeping an eye on you. And finally, you can hear me." And we all know this is Kenny's Zanpakuto. We haven't heard the Zanpakuto's name yet, and I've totally forgotten what it is. But Kenpachi is going to get his Bonkai. This is going to be incredible. I know what his Bonkai is. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but it's going to be incredible. It's going to be unbelievable, and I cannot wait to see it, because this fight was done so well. I cannot wait to see what happens when Kenpachi Zaraki is unleashed later on in this series. It's going to be amazing. Other than after that, what did we cut to? That was pretty much the meat and bones of the episode, was the fight between Kenpachi and Unohana. However, there was another side to this episode, which was Renji and Ichigo finally meeting Nimaiya, the Blade God, the creator of all Zanpakuto, in the hopes of getting theirs repaired. Nimaiya is a bit of a pimp. He surrounds himself with very attractive ladies, one of whom seems to be able to beat him up and tell him what to do when none of the others do. We'll get into that in a later episode, I assume. And he throws Ichigo and Renji in a room full of Azuchi. An Azuchi is a Zanpakuto that has not taken form yet. It kind of looks like a mannequin. Zanpakuto are created as Azuchi, then they are forged into swords. These swords are then given to Soul Reapers in the Soul Reaper Academy. After they have been chosen by an Azuchi, the sword has to choose you. You can't choose the sword. After they have been chosen by an Azuchi, the sword is then given to them as a katana. And over years, centuries, they push their spiritual pressure into the blade, forging it into their own personalized Zanpakuto, giving it its own Shikai and eventually its own Bonkai if they're strong enough. He throws Renji and Ichigo into a pit full of Azuchi. Basically says, you've got 3 days. If you can survive and get out of there, then I'll fix your swords. If you can't, then you're going home and you're not going to get your swords fixed. 3 days pass. He tells Renji he has passed and he can fix his Zanpakuto. He's been chosen by an Azuchi and therefore he can be fixed and we can move on. Ichigo, on the other hand, has failed. He has not been chosen by an Azuchi. None of the swords want him because he's not a true Soul Reaper. And when he brings Ichigo is not happy about this. Obviously, it's Ichigo Kurosaki. He starts screaming at him, there's no time limit, I can still do this, I can still keep going. And Nimaiya explains to him in quite cold terms, no, because you're not a real Soul Reaper. And I don't make swords for fake Soul Reapers. You're a human, Kurosaki. You're not a Soul Reaper. Go home. And teleports him off home. But then we get a very interesting line from Nimaiya. Nimaiya talks about the fact that Ichigo needs to find his roots. He needs to realize who he really is, make a decision, and then one day, I'll fix your sword. As we all know, this has got to do with the internal conflict that is going on inside Ichigo, even though he doesn't realize it's going on inside Ichigo. He's found out from Yu Harbok that his mother was a Quincy. He knows his father was a Soul Reaper. He's effectively an abomination in the consideration of Bleach. He's half Quincy, he's half Soul Reaper, and he's part Hollow as well. He's the ultimate trifecta. So the fact that a Soul Reaper, an Azuchi, a Zanpakuto, won't choose him makes perfect sense, due to the fact that he's conflicted with himself. He's not a true Soul Reaper anymore. He's 1/3 Soul Reaper, he's 1/3 Quincy, and he's 1/3 Hollow. So I'm very intrigued to see where they go with this episode. The next episode. We're very close, fast approaching the mid-season break. I think around episode 12 there'll be a mid-season break. So I'm really curious to see where they finish on the mid-season for, because we're on episode 10 now. Only 2 weeks left. So we will see where it goes. And hopefully there will be some kind of plot resolution on Ichigo's origins before the mid-season break. I'm doubting it. I'm hoping there will. But folks, that was the episode. That was the show. I've been Nick the Geek. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you all. And remember, if you like what we do here at the Geek Buddy, if you enjoy the content we're putting out, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything we do in the future. It's free, it really helps us out, and it's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. And if you want some good articles, if you want some good information, head over to thegeekbuddy.com. It's full of great articles on movies, anime, games, everything we like over there. Great writers doing some great work that need your support. In the meantime, I've been Nick the Geek. I love you all. See you next week. Bye.